Hey, welcome to another class in session. This is a special episode with Lyndl Kempis. How doing, Lyndl?
Hey, doing great, Brandon. Thanks for having me back.
So we have a little history together. And before we go into details, I'm going to let yourself introduce yourself to all the students out there, people who are watching this, who you are, where you've been, where you are right now.
Sounds good. My name is Lyndl, and I'm a producer at Arch Viz design firm in San Francisco. I make Arch Viz. That means architectural visuals, and I came from a game art background. I went to school at an art institute where Brandon used to teach, and it's kind of like where our history started. But yeah.
So one of the meat of today's topic that I wanted to talk to you about and to kind of give some insight to students out there. It's crazy because your class of students, I think 2-3 years after this kind of industry kind of blossomed, which is Arch Viz, but overall just other industries, enterprise companies is how I kind of refer them as, that are outside of game development but use game development tools basically to succeed. Because real-time graphics, especially Unreal Engine 4, have been shown to be so powerful and so useful now that a lot of people are kind of trying to learn these pipelines and put it as part of their output. So for a lot of students that don't know about this, I do my best to try to educate, but can you kind of give your kind of summary of what that industry, maybe your particular industry that you're working in right now, what that looks like, and when did you see that shift, and how did you happen to get into that?
Oh, okay. Here, I'll share my screen. Show you guys like just a few examples of my own company, for example. Before I applied for Steel Blue, I was actually looking through their stuff, and I was wondering what Arch Viz was myself, these rooms and whatnot. Come to find out that these are actually all 3D generated, right? When I got hired, I found out they use 3ds Max, and they use something called Corona Render or F-Storm Keyshot, really. And what that tells me is that, like, it doesn't really matter what tools you're using. It's just like, you know what I mean? Like, it's if you can translate it. So I know Cycles and Blender, and the render that we used here is kind of the same. Here, some more examples real quick. This is probably a photo in the back, and then we 3D modeled this whole thing and kind of just photoshopped it in the end, like composited it. So just to give you a little bit more examples, this is all Arch Viz. So what is that for you, right? Okay. So I'll show you how to like the process of it. This isn't mine. I realized when you asked me the other day if I have any examples of Arch Viz stuff, I'm primarily a asset modeler, and so I don't really do this for my personal project. For example, I downloaded this off of the Unreal tournament or the Unreal Engine library, but this is largely kind of what we do right here. As you can see, like, you don't really have to use Unreal. Like, we don't use Unreal at work. It just matters how you can produce the image, right? And so this is what it is. The thing that translated most for me, even though I make assets. Here, let me backtrack. It's like, because it gets a little confusing, because if this is my portfolio, you must be wondering how any of this translates to stuff like this, or these things. The difference really, and all it really is that got me the job, is actually just the lighting part of it. Anybody could really make the assets. It's not really about if you can make it, it's how you can execute in a professional setting. So if a client, most of Arch Viz is like, think of it as concept art, but for buildings and corporations. Say they bought this land out and they say, hey, Lyndl, I want to see what this blueprint, they'll provide a plan for a whole building, and they want to see how it looks on top of like this whole empty land. And your task as an Arch Viz like designer, like butchering this whole thing. I'm new to this stuff, but I understand it very well. Like once you get the plan, you build it out yourself, and you start. It's all primitive shapes, really, and you don't finish this in a day or a couple of days or whatever. These kind of projects span for weeks to months, and that's because there's a lot of feedback. So say you built this out and you show your client like, oh, this is what it looks like right now. What do you think of the color of the walls? And so they would change it at that spot, and you'd make changes and keep doing iterations until you get the final piece. And the final pieces, they're definitely like, yeah, they look really good. You know what I mean? Like these, let's see, which one was a really good one? Yeah, this right here is all just concept. This was an empty room, and the client's like, hey, I want to see it furnished. This is in San Francisco. I want to see it furnished with all of these different, furnitures, and see what happens. And that's the gist of the whole job. It's making really good renders of The Sims. You know what I mean? If you ever played The Sims and you rearrange things, you make renders for it. So even though I'm an asset modeler, it's like these are the things I focus on, making little pieces. In this job, it doesn't seem to matter as much. Say you have just a month to do this right here. And you're responsible for this whole project yourself, right? And you're managing your time. Like, what do you want to spend the most time on? Do you spend time making the foliage, all this and that? If you only have a 1 month cycle, the best and most optimal way to go about it is to literally go on TurboSquid and just buy a bunch of pre-made assets. Just drop it all in. And that's another side of all of this. If you just want to stick to modeling, I guess you could just fill up the TurboSquid and the marketplaces and Unreal and Unity. There's people like me, and there's more people that does Arch Viz, and they mostly buy most of the assets, and the thing that we focus on is lighting. Does that make sense? Before I keep going and rambling.
No. It's all very interesting, because it's still, even though there's like obviously a huge industry for this stuff, and it's growing, it's still very, I feel in like a game development classroom, very absent as an avenue. It's so new. I still think like 3 to 5 years where it's like, hey, this is a career path that you can think about too.